Welcome back to Aurora Tech Channel. Today, I'm going to review this QiDi X-Max 3D printer. This printer is super heavy and it weighs around 80 pounds. It has a super sturdy metal frame, an injection mold enclosure, a thick 8mm aluminum heated bed with strong leveling knobs under the bed, a dual Z-axis with 12mm linear rods to move and support the print bed up and down, and 10mm linear rods on the X and Y axis, 2 sets of extruders including one that goes up to 300 degrees Celsius for high temperature filament printing, a 5-inch touchscreen, 2 flexible print surfaces, and it supports Wi-Fi printing as well as a USB drive. You can mount 3 rolls of filament on this machine, 2 at the top and 1 inside the machine. It seems the hardware configuration is pretty close to a high-end desktop 3D printer. I will walk through the features, do some test prints, and talk about the pros and cons as well as my suggestions to the manufacturer. I would like to thank QiDi for sending me this machine to review, and with that, let's get started. This thing is huge, and I can't even remove it from the box without working together with my brother. Okay, let's see what we have here. We have the super heavy machine, a pretty nice toolbox, a power cable, an Ethernet cable, and a high temperature extruder while the standard extruder is installed on the machine. The filament roller can hold 2 rolls, an extra flexible print surface, a roll of 1 kilogram filament, and the user manual. As there's no assembly required, we can just check the power voltage and turn on the main switch at the back, and then press the power button next to the screen to turn it on. Let's take a look at the menu. On the sidebar, it shows the temperature of the nozzle and bed, as well as the status of the USB port. If I insert the drive, the icon is going to change. There are 4 buttons on the screen. I'm a bit curious about the last one, after sales. It displays a message that you can send pictures and videos to them if you have any problems, and they can even slice the STL file for you, which is pretty nice. We also have the print menu, which allows you to select files to print from the USB drive, a system menu to display the status of the printer, firmware version, set the system language, touchscreen calibration, factory reset, volume, and turning the LED light on and off. For the tool menu, we can move the XYZ axes and turn off the stepper motors, preheat the nozzle and the print bed, change the filament, set up the Wi-Fi, do bed leveling, and the stop button will stop preheating and disable all stepper motors. The fan button allows you to choose the speed of 3 different fans: the heatsink fan, part cooling fan, and enclosure fans. The menu seems pretty nice. It may not have every single button at the perfect spot, but it has everything you need and is pretty easy to navigate. Let's start with bed leveling. Go to Tools, Leveling, and there are 2 options. The fast leveling is just to set the Z offset between the nozzle and the center of the bed. If you are leveling it the first time, it's better to choose normal leveling. It is now homing the printer. Use the dual limit switch at the bottom to synchronize the dual Z axis, and then the nozzle moves to the front left. We will use the leveling nut underneath to adjust the distance, and just let the leveling card slightly scratch the nozzle, followed by the front right and the back. After we have finished these 3 points, the bed should be pretty level. Then, it goes to the center of the bed. To set the Z offset, use the up and down arrows on the screen to move the nozzle closer or away from the bed to get the perfect distance. Now the leveling is done. We can now preheat the printer and feed in some filament. Once the nozzle is heated up, we can insert the filament into the extruder, go to the filament menu, and press the down arrow. Next, we will connect this printer to our network. If you have Ethernet, you can just plug in the cable and it will connect to your network automatically. If you use Wi-Fi, select your SSID and enter your password, just like how you connect your cell phone or computer to your Wi-Fi. Okay, it's now done. It shows an IP address, but we actually don't need it because the software will search for the printer automatically. Let's go to the computer and install the slicer, as they want to print over Wi-Fi and the standard QiDi may not be able to support that. Don't use the slicer that came with the USB drive, as it is an old version. Simply go to QiDi3dprinter.com to download and install the latest version. This QiDi print is another skinned Cura, but surprisingly it's the best skinned Cura I have ever used. Select your printer, and in our case it's the X-Max. After the printer is connected to the network, the IP address will automatically show up here. The print settings are the exact same as Cura, and I will just use default settings for PLA to do a test print, starting with the calibration cube. When I press the slice button, it pops up another window to let you review some important settings like the layer height, infill, print speed, temperature, cooling, support, and bed adhesion. That's a really good feature, and everything looks good to me, so click Slice. The default option is to send to Wi-Fi. Of course, you may also save to the USB drive if you prefer not to use Wi-Fi. Let's send it to the printer via Wi-Fi. It's going to upload the file and ask if you want to start the print now, and click Yes to start the print. The print looks nice when printing right out of the box, and the text and layer lines all look fine. Up next is a 3D Benchy. The layers, cooling, and overhanging all look good. Next, I will print a model of Mount Rushmore. This print is a long one. It requires more than 15 hours, but I'm sure this is a pretty nice model, so let's see how it looks. The print looks beautiful, even when I try to zoom in closer and use the different angles of lighting to try to make the layer lines visible, it still looks awesome. Then, I will make some functional parts for this printer. I don't like the hole on the lid, as it's going to let the heat out when you try to fully enclose the printer. I will print a cover to seal the hole. There are some overhanging parts in this cover, but without using support, it is still very functional. I think the angle of feeding filament from this hole may be even better. Another functional part I want to make is an air reflector for the exhaust fans. Right now, it just exhausts the air from the enclosure and moves into your room. I would like to connect the ducting to exhaust the air outside. So, I designed this simple register box using Fusion 360 and hung it at the back of the machine before I decided to drill some holes at the back to fix it on permanently. It does not look that nice in terms of design, but it's still functional. As we are going to print ABS, nylon, and polycarbonate carbon fiber afterward, I want to make sure the air doesn't go back in the room. Before I swap out the standard extruder, I will also print some PETG and ABS so we can test out different materials. I will print a Raspberry Pi case. As you can see, I am printing it on blue tape as PETG sticks too well to the print surface. I can't remove the model without damaging it. The case looks really nice with this Prusa orange PETG. Next, I will try to print an ABS shelf bracket. I have printed this model before on a glass bed and the corner warped a little bit, but with this super sticky print surface, it should be fine. As you can see, there is no warping on all the corners. But in order to give it a tougher test, I will print this 285mm long bar, which is very difficult to print on an open printer without an enclosure. It seems this enclosure handled this tough model very well. There is no warping on both sides. Now, I will change to the high temperature extruder. Just remove one screw on the cover, 2 screws on the fan duct, and the 2 screws used to fix the extruder. The high temperature hot end doesn't come with a part cooling fan, but we normally don't use cooling when printing materials like nylon, nylon carbon fiber, and polycarbonate. Let's start with nylon. I will print this set of tripod phone mounts. I normally print this at 280 degrees on my Under 3 S1 Pro, but I found it's a bit too high on this hot end, so I print it with 260 degrees. Instead of using the print surface, I will flip it over and apply some glue. The result seems great. Next, I want to print a set of arms to fix a monitor on my mining rack. I will use nylon carbon fiber to print these two arms. There is no warping on both sides, and these arms are functional. Finally, I will use polycarbonate to print a filament roller to replace the one that came from this machine for mounting the filament inside the enclosure. I found the space is tight and the roller is not that easy to fit. I will talk more about this later. My first try was a bit too long, so I split the roller in half and made some threads to connect them back. The space is still pretty tight, but it's a bit easier to put it on than the original roller. Okay, let's talk about what I think about this printer, starting with the pros. 1. This printer handles different kinds of materials really nicely. I printed with PLA, PETG, ABS, nylon, nylon carbon fiber, and polycarbonate carbon fiber, except the PETG sticks too well, but the rest of the filament printed perfectly fine. I guess I just have to move the nozzle a little bit further from the bed when printing with PETG. 2. It has a robust metal structure frame and an injection mold enclosure, which is much better than those $200 acrylic enclosures or those in the $300 to $400 price range with aluminum frames. 3. The linear rod system is working great. Instead of 8mm rods, it uses 12mm rods with a dual Z-axis and 10mm rods on the X and Y axis. It uses dual limit switches to synchronize both Z-stepper drivers and motors. It works better than a timing belt and requires no manual alignment. 5. It uses a thick 8mm solid aluminum heated bed, which is only used on some high-end machines. 6. The modular hot end is easy to swap, and is just 5 screws needed to switch between the regular hot end and the high temperature hot end. 7. It uses strong leveling springs and adjustment knobs with a lock mechanism, and is one of the best manual leveling systems. 8. The spring steel print surface sticks well, and even comes with an extra one that is perfect for PLA, ABS, and other standard filament. 9. The auto power off feature is handy, and it already came with a relay. If you enable this feature in the slicer or on the touchscreen, once the print is finished, the power signal will be sent from a digital pin to the relay to turn off the power. 10. The LED light is handy when printing at night. I can record printing clips overnight without other lights. 11. The Wi-Fi feature works great. It compresses the G-code file before uploading to the printer and is faster than all other printers with the same ESP8266 module that uses a Cura plugin to upload. You can use Wi-Fi printing just like how you print with an inkjet printer. There are quite a lot of things I like about this machine, but there are also some cons. 1. It is no filament sensor, and you need to purchase an extra one for an extra $15. The installation is pretty easy. Just open up the base, plug in the cable, and run it through the gap inside the machine. But it's still somewhat strange for a $1,000 printer to not have a $15 filament sensor. 2. There is no bed leveling sensor, but the leveling spring and the leveling mechanism are very good, so I've only leveled it once. However, I would expect a printer at this price range to come with auto bed leveling. 3. The location of the filament holder inside the machine is not that easy to access. If you follow the instructions to put the filament on the roller first, before screwing it on the machine, the filament roll is going to block your sight and it will not be that easy to align the screw hole. If you put the filament in place first and then screw in the roller, it would be much easier. 4. When you load the filament using the screen menu, it allows the extruder to move before the nozzle is heated up. I think QiDi can easily enable the prevent cold extrusion feature and set the extrude minimum temperature to at least 180 degrees in Marlin to fix this. 5. The material of the enclosure is okay and is similar to the one on a laser or inkjet printer, but the door is just a little bit flimsy. 6. The filters of the two fans are dust filters. They just push out the air from the enclosure to your room. When you print some materials like nylon or polycarbonate, which require a ventilated area, it is better to include a HEPA or carbon filter, or you still need to find some way to connect another duct to exhaust the air outside. Besides that, I would like to give some suggestions to QiDi for improvements. The extruder is a direct extruder, but it's a single gear. It works perfectly fine when printing at a normal speed, but the frame of this printer is so robust and the machine is so heavy. The MK10 heated block and nozzle have a larger heat zone to melt filament faster. I'm sure it can print at 100 mm per second or even faster with those Bondtech style dual gear extruders. Add a few gigabytes of memory to the motherboard. For now, when you use Wi-Fi printing, you still need to insert the USB drive to store the upload file. This would be better if it came with onboard memory. In conclusion, the hardware of this QiDi X-Max is even better than some so-called high-end desktop 3D printers that cost a few $1,000s. The differences between them could be the less polished user interface, the quality of the documentation, and some missing fine details that I mentioned in the cons section. The screen UI and the latest firmware version 2.27 have some major improvements. For the slicer, QiDi's actually doing a much better job on their skin cura than most manufacturers. In fact, the latest version 6.2 is the best skinned cura I have ever seen. It works great with this printer, and the Wi-Fi feature also works flawlessly. As the hardware of this printer is so good, I think it is worth the price. If you're interested in this printer, I put the link to this printer, other upgrades, and 3D printable upgrades under the description. That's it for this video. If you like this video, please hit the like and subscribe button. My brother and I make a new video every weekend, so check out my channel on Mondays and you'll see something new. See you next week.